hella funny.
When I thought about this episode, I had to really ask myself. I'm like, do I want to invite some of my trans friends to come in and talk about it? I'm like, no, I don't. Because it's not their job to educate us as straight men about trans issues or queer issues. It's not trans people's job. It's not queer people's job. It's our job as straight men. We're in a group together. We have a specific experience together. You know what I'm saying? And I know that. They know that too. So it's our job to talk to each other as, what do they call it? Peers? Mm-hmm. Okay? And we teach in school, and I be telling these kids all the time. I'm like, look, if your friends out here making trash everywhere, when it comes to the time to pick it up, y'all all gonna pick it up together. Because, yeah, they may have did it, but you sat there and watched them do it. And you didn't say nothing about it.
And of course you can tell them, right? But when somebody who is your peer is like, hey, we should do this, you're gonna be more inclined to go along with it. Exactly.
But the conversation's easier, so we got to talk about it amongst ourselves.
And you did a great job.
Thank you.
And is somebody gonna look at it and say this is imperfect? Probably.
Yeah.
And that's not the fucking point.
Nope.
It was progressive.
Message.
That's what it was. So anyway, this whole thing just reminds me of, I don't know, it seems like people, there's a push and pull about wanting to assert differentness,
mm-hmm.
but also push this acceptance as if it's like the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it just is confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely confusing.
And as far as like socially,
mm-hmm.
I don't know any group of people who have a grounded clarity about, like, collective clarity that is grounded in some type of agreement and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a bunch of different people who have different ideas, even
mm-hmm.
about what it means for them individually
mm-hmm.
to have their identity.
Yeah.
And that is confusing.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Yeah, keep it real.
And it's creating confusion.
Yeah. And, people got to decide, I think. But it's up to them.
What do you mean people have to decide?
I think people have to decide, like, what we're going to go forward with, how it's going to be, how we want it to be.
Look, and this is where this shit comes in. We get to decide. So he did this because he gets to decide. When people are saying privilege to you, and like, we're going off on tangents and shit, and we really should keep going. But when people were saying privilege to you, this is what my issue with this is. What? Point it out for what reason? You say this to say what? These motherfuckers be, like you said, Facebook Karens.
Mm-hmm.
It's like activist Karens,
mm-hmm.
conscious Karens.
Yeah, it is.
Like, what's the word? Inclusionary Karens. This mm-hmm. shit is weird.
Exactly.
Like, that's a good thing for you to do in the position you're in.
Yes, but they don't see that.
That's a good thing for you to do in the position you're in.
They're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? But that's how people are.
If you have privilege, that means you hold some type of power. But we're talking about people that are individuals. So what power do you have as an individual? You have power over how you act to people, mm-hmm. how you treat people, exactly. how you collaborate with people, and what you're willing to share with people as far as your own self and your own journey. And that's the type of shit that you would make committed action to. Mm-hmm. So, one, like I said, privilege is a word that signals something more to me. What are your oppressor patterns? Right? How do you maybe dominate other people
mm-hmm.
in a way that's not right?
Mm-hmm.
Like me as a teacher with the students that I have, right? Mm-hmm. I have a privilege over them. Really, mm-hmm. it means I have a position of power, and I have a responsibility to people.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I wield my responsibility? And how do I provide opportunity or create continuous inclusion?
Mm-hmm.
And singling people out as a way to include them actually doesn't make sense to me. Being like, hey, let's all talk about how we feel about female and male being on the agenda sheet. That's going to be something different for everybody. And so if that's something for this student who's going to talk about, well, I'm a transgender student and this and that, the context of the conversation is everyone is connected to the conversation. This isn't just a one-person conversation that everyone has to listen to. No, they're talking about the topic that we all have something to say about. Because I feel a way about male, female on the sheet. You feel a way about male, female on the sheet. How that is and why that is different because we live different lives. But the point is we all can relate to the topic on the table. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, no, that's facts though. That's facts. And I think the most important part is really having the conversations and really getting with people in a personal way and just understanding where we're at with each other and really like working together. Because to me, I'm gonna keep it real, I think a lot of this stuff is for the birds. Okay? I tell her all the time, I tell my brother, I don't think about it. Because it ain't my business to think about in the first place. It ain't my business to decide. It's not my issue.
What is for the birds? What are you talking about?
I'm gonna tell you. My focus is how we as people work together. What your gender identity is doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna treat you with respect as a human being. Your gender identity can be whatever it wants to be. I'll address you pretty much however you want me to address you. Okay? And as long as we can work together, that's good enough for me. And as long and you ain't hurt nobody out there, we good, chill. That's enough. I need no more than that, you know. And that's my focus, and that's always been my focus, and I think that'll always be my focus.
And this is what I'm gonna say about what you just said. People will hear that and say, and that's your problem because you're focused on you and what you need and what matters to you or doesn't matter to you. But what about if we work together? Then what about what matters to me? And I would say to that, you have to be in a relationship to see the action of it.
Because that's where it happens.
Like people wanna,
like the stuff you vote on, bro. Like what you put your money into.
No, I'm saying let's have an example. You have relationships with people who are transgender.
I do.
You work with them in certain capacities.
I do.
Collaborated, spent time with, created things with, just done jobs with, whatever.
Yeah.
If it was to if you're working on something and it's very specific to the goal, okay, we're gonna put on this event, anti-trafficking. Okay, that's the topic at hand.
Yeah.
If for some reason your identity politics comes into play, then you have the conversation. But this general statement you just made about working together, I'm just saying this for people who hear this and get confused because they want to jump on the fact that you're centering yourself in what you're saying and your philosophy and how you are, which makes sense to do.
Yeah.
That if in a real life situation we're working on a common goal and then identity politics becomes an issue, that's the only way where you know what type of person you're dealing with. And for me, obviously people are easy to be stimulated or triggered. And that's something that you have to notice in the moment.
Yeah.
So even if that's triggering or re-stimulating for people to hear, you know what I mean? Like it's I'm trying to get clarity instead of conflating things. Like, oh, you're a cis man, so of course you would say that. You know, like box you.
Yeah.
Because how you treat people and whether you really put them in a box, if you internalize them as a person in a small box, that comes out in how you deal with people when you're working with people towards something, towards a common goal.
Yeah. And look, I don't
do you get what I'm saying?
I do get what you're saying, and you're right.
Because you're gonna be like, I don't care what you are, as long as we, and then you're gonna be like, well, that's the point. You should care. Like and
they can say whatever they want to say, man. I'm gonna keep it real. I can see a motherfucker's heart. Okay. I can see people's hearts better than they can see their own hearts. So I know what's in a person's heart.
Okay, God. God know your heart, huh?
Hey, man, I am God body.
Okay.
And God does know my heart. But for real, people's intentions shine through their actions. If you paying attention, you'll see somebody's intentions. You'll see what they really believe in, what they really care about. And it's so much stuff to worry about in this world. You'll see if they hurt, and you'll see why they hurt about stuff. We work with kids, and then you're going back to them. Like, you'll say something, right, and then they'll be like, "Oh, it's this," and then you say something else to them, and then they're like, "Oh, well, really this, that, and the third."
It's like
really,
the comments on.
I'm mad because they got in trouble, and I got in trouble, and they should get in trouble too.
Yeah, like the comment on your shit. When you were talking about it, you're like, somebody had something to say, and somebody else came behind, blah, blah, blah. And then they got to the real shit, which was they had this experience which was traumatic for them. Yeah. That's and always the real shit is what's underneath.
It had nothing to do with me. Them motherfuckers never seen none of my shit, doesn't know what I do, doesn't know anything about me, doesn't know I've been with the shit. But they got shit to say because they feel a way about what's being presented to them, even though they don't even understand the thing that they're looking at. It's crazy. But
that shit is funny as fuck.
It's hilarious. One thing that I've been thinking about recently, and I think we should move on to the next slide.
Agree.
With this internet shit, man, everybody and their mother's generalizing. Okay? Ain't nobody getting to the specific. We can have an issue about something, and people will never talk about the actual issue. They'll only talk about the issues with the issue itself. They'll talk around the issue. They'll talk about every other thing. Like, oh, the issue is black rights, but you said this thing over here, and you said this thing over here, and you said this thing over here, and nobody's saying, what are we going to do about black rights, though?
Right, I don't like what you said. It makes me feel some type of way.
Makes me feel some kind of way. Because my mom hated me since I was 12, and it's like, bro, what the fuck? Hold on, bro. I'm not your mom.
But that's why I like to do RC.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Co-counseling or regular counsel, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Because, man, niggas out here trying to do shit. And at the same time, we gotta heal every day, every moment from all the crazy ass shit that we going through that we trying to change.
No, that's facts, man.
And we are just doing our best.
Yeah, that's it. That's what anybody's doing. And that's why I listen to OGs, because I think OGs really know the truth. OGs, their generation to me is like one of the realest generations to ever exist.
That's
because
a different topic.
It is. But the way that they talk to each other, they talk past the bullshit. And I feel like sometimes in this generation, we don't ever get past the bullshit.
Whatever. They also say crazy ass weird shit.
They do. We keep it real.
Like,
but they
might cut through the bullshit, but then they still say bullshit. Okay.
I mean, some of them say bullshit.
Whatever.
I'm talking about old black elders, bro, who's really with the shit.
Next. This one? No, the other one, Planned Parenthood.